Today I will be completing the April 2019 SAT passages 3, 4, and 5 out of this 5-passage set. In the first video, I completed the first 2 passages. Okay. It is well known that some animal species use camouflage to hide from predators. Those are able to survive longer, reproduce, and increase. So those who camouflage, they can blend in, avoid being eaten, and survive longer, and reproduce, and increase their fitness, pass along their genes, which is evolutionary benefits, compared to those who stand out more. This may seem like a good strategy, fairly common in Animal Kingdom, but who ever heard of a plant doing the same thing? So, do we see this in plants? In plants, use coloration, pigmentation as a vital component. Plants use coloration and pigmentation to acquire food, to attracting or to attract pollinators. It's been well studied. However, variation pigmentation has not been studied. Specialized leaves on this plant might serve as the stripes of a tiger. So this tactic of camouflage can be compared to a tiger, the stripes on a tiger, or the gray coloration on the wings of this to hide, so to camouflage from their predators, from predation. Visits rules for all the research it needs to live. It's free to adopt a broader range of possibilities, much like fungi or animals, because it exclusively. But the bad thing about this is that it doesn't. Other plants don't rely exclusively upon this, which this gives it a broader range of camouflage for this plant. Brown color, the reflections pattern. They found the bracts functioned as so they were camouflage, making the plant. Furthermore, the experiment demonstrated that this camouflage actually worked to hide the plant from its predators and increase its fitness, which fitness was their evolutionary benefits right here. Individuals intact bracts has long been shown that the animals use cryptic camouflage as a defense mechanism to visually match a component of their natural environment, which facilitates predator avoidance. That's important because we have not experimented on plants at all. Drawing its bracts early on, all the other species in the supplement have colorful, fleshy bracts and are reproductively active for only a quarter. Somewhat paradoxically, actually relies on animals for pollination, seed dispersal. Okay, I don't think that's important though. It was mostly about the camouflage. Okay, we can move on to the questions. So, question 22. The main purpose of the passage is to contrast the action of plants that rely on photosynthesis. It wasn't about photosynthesis, it was about the camouflage. It's not pollinators, it was about camouflage. Yes, defense. But in a series of plant, yes, and the plant was. This was the plant that used the camouflage, the defense mechanism. This is wrong because there were experiments involving animals, those plants. Right, an evolutionary. Oh, it was the evolutionary benefits right here. It was they reproduce and just increase their fitness. They pass along their genes to the next generation. That's evolutionary. So it's 2 to 7. Yes. The passage indicates that compared with other coloration in plants, camouflage in plants provides the deeper understanding of potential food sources. No, not food sources. use of more distinctive shades, no. But to be less effective defense, no, it's actually stronger defense but with a smaller number. Yes, this is correct because right here. However, variation in pigmentation as a means of escaping predation has received little attention, so it has not been experimented. In line 20 to 21, the references to the tiger and the moth surveying lead to might serve a similar purpose as the stripes on a tiger. So if this plant could use the similar defense tactics in terms of escaping predation. To provide analogous, yes, similar to those of the, yes, it's A. Alpha contrast notes a similarity. There's just a new possibility. There's no new possibility. Those are criticized, no criticism. Can most reasonably be inferred from passage that the nutrient requirements of many plants has a consequence of what? Many plants. Exaggerating the plant's coloration. No, that's the plant talked about in the passage. Limiting the plant's defensive options. Yes, it's this one. Increasing the plant's energy. They didn't talk about that. Improving there. No. And the lines. Well, let's see the lines. It was. No. It's a fascinating plant, right? Okay. For all the resources it needs to live. Because this plant no longer requires photosynthesis, it is free to adopt. So this plant is much more advantageous than the other plants, in which this has a better skill at camouflage. So it is that line. But it's asking for other plants, so they have limited their defensive options. It's used in line 28 broader. Most daily means more. Let's see. Broader. Does this plant no longer requires from? It is free to adopt a wider. Extensive, yes. Means the same thing. Obvious, no. Tolerant, no. Spacious, no. As used in line 48 worked. Let's see. Worked. The more this family camouflage actually worked. It functioned. It changed? No. Influenced? No. Functioned? Yes. I said that. Flower, petal, mono plants. So at a wavelength of 600 nanometers. Okay, flower petal, 600 nanometers. Flower petal, 600, it's at 5%. Statement about reflective management is supported by the data. So flower petal tracks closely with the bract. Let's see. Flower petal right here tracks closely with the bract. No, it's opposite. It's not a leaf litter shows decreases in relation to increases in the flower. So leaf litter and flower petal. Leaf litter, flower petal. No, they are both increasing, so that's wrong. It's both of them, they're increasing. Reproductive is similar. So reproductive is similar to leaf litter. Reproductive is similar to leaf litter. No, they're not similar. This one decreases, this one increases here. So it must be choice D. And that is true if you look back in the figure. According to figure 2, the mean proportion of floral stems with herbivore damage intact bracts in 2007. So intact bracts. 2007, about 0.18, 0.17. Yes. Okay. Next passage. Revolution of France. Edmund Burke was a British politician. So the French formed the French Revolution. Okay. To make a government requires no work is done. It is not. Okay, wait. Form free government. That is, the temperament requires much thought, deep reflection, sagacious, powerful. So forming a free government, it requires these qualities, which are much different than making a government or giving freedom. I do not find those who take the list. So he's criticizing the National Assembly. Okay, perhaps there are some below the leaders choose the leaders. Choose bidders at an auction appointed. They will become flatterers instead of legislators. The instruments, not the guides of the people. So these politicians, they will become they will become for the people instead of for the government. They will become their instruments. So they will be trying to appeal to the people, not for the betterment of the government. If any of them should have it, but you'll be immediately outbid by the competitors who produce something more splendidly pop because it will appeal more to the people. So stigmatized cowards and compromise the prudence of traitors. And so a popular leader is obliged to become active. Property and towards defeat any sober purpose she ultimately might have aimed. Okay. But am I telling you was to see nothing at all it deserves? I do not deny that among an infinite number of acts of violence, some good may have been done. They will destroy everything. Also make everything new. It must be that the same thing that now for this thing, such a revolution. Essentially, they might some just it would little detracts from happening. The improvements in the National Assembly are superficial. Their errors are fundamental. So the National Assembly, superficially on the outside, it looks presentable, but inside they have many problems. Whatever they are, I wish my countrymen to resemble the British Constitution. They model for them for the improvement in the former. They have gotten invaluable. They are not, I think, without some cases. These they do not owe to their Constitution, but to, I think, our happy situation. We do not in a great measure. And so left standing in our several reviews and reformations is that what we have altered or superadded. People will not exclude alteration neither, but even when I changed, should be to preserve. I should be led to my remedy by a great grievance. In what I did, I should follow the example of our ancestors. I would make the reverence. So this is an analogy to building, politics, and guarding, morality, training. being annoyed with a night with friends tell us that they've got so when they act under strong impression of ignorance. He's criticizing the French infallibility and kind of made them just imitate their caution, wish to deserve their. So he's talking about the ancestors. So let's imitate their authority to decide if we please. Standing on the firm ground of the British Constitution, let us be satisfied to admire and to follow their disregard the aeronauts of France. Okay. So he's kind of against the French and their beliefs and stuff like that. The National Assembly, as he mentioned right here. The National Assembly's decision to do what? They didn't talk about any monarchy or king. Expand the size of it. They didn't talk about expansion of the size. Seek the approval. Yes, they did mention that. Ignore the there were no former leaders. 5 to 10. To form a free government. No, that doesn't talk about the approval of the public. That's not the approval. Again, 13 to 18. Yeah, right here. Flatterers instead of legislators. Instruments not to the guise of the people. They will appeal to the people. They will try to seek their approval. And whenever someone else has a better idea, what's going to happen is that they'll be outbid. We'll produce something more splendidly popular. Instruments. They will become flatterers instead of the instruments. The tools. They will be used by the people. In the passage, Burke believes that the French leaders will advocate moderate positions. Okay, right here. Moderation will be stigmatized as the virtue of cowards and compromise as the prudence of traitors until in hopes of preserving which made popular leader obliged to become active. So, okay. Brave. Maybe. I don't know. Brave. I don't know. Cowardly. They're not praised. It's the opposite. Virtuous. They're not being ignored because right here the popular leader is active. Sensible. That's a good word, but likely to be undermined. And they are undermined right here where it says defeat any sober purpose at which he ultimately might have aimed. If it's between D and A, I'm gonna go with D. I just don't know brave. Brave. Moderation was the virtue of cowards. But it doesn't show if he's brave though. I think brave's the wrong word. Next, as you line 30, sober. Most means establishing powers that after defeat any grave. No, I don't think so. Rehabilitated, no. Unpretentious, no. Reasonable. Yeah, that makes sense. Any reasonable purpose at which he might have aimed. Yeah, that makes sense. But essential claim the last paragraph is that the British have, I think, our happy situation owing to our custom, but owing to the whole of it, and not to any part singly, only in a great measure to what we have standing in. So several reviews and reformations to change their political system of the British Constitution, stuff like that. Anything would change. Failed to take effective measures. Failed? No. Acted wisely to revise. That's change rather than replace. Yes. He didn't want to replace it. He wanted to revise it. That's why he analogized. That's why he was analogous to the building. The building. Try to export their form. No. Oh, I meant to circle that else. This is wrong and this is wrong. Didn't export their form of government, nor they were unchanged. They tried to change it. First, the repair. This was an analogy to the governments need to be changed periodically, not periodically. If the government has fundamental errors, it should be replaced. But it wouldn't be analogous to a building. If a building, you fix it, you don't replace it. All governments have flaws that But this, again, with buildings, you don't proper intervention. It's not about that. It's about fixing the changes should maintain that government's essential. Yes. So if there is any problem, you can just repair it, but the building will still remain as a building. That's the analogy. The passage is the greatest respect for which the British leaders, the ancestors, remember? It's right here. You know what I did? I will show an example of our ancestors. So 69 to 75, or he that had made them those found. Let us imitate their caution, because I connected it right here. So it's 80 to 87. Let's see, one of those. No. 64 to 67. No, that was behind also. 70, yes. Burke's attitude toward the gentlemen of France. Strong impression of ignorance, so negative tone. Scornful, yes. Sympathetic, no, that's positive. Envious, he wasn't jealous of them. He just was showing that they were wrong. Apprehensive, not apprehensive, it's scornful. Okay, the final passage of this reading passage, 5-passage set. Passage 1 is that close hunters are widely regarded as among the first people to inhabit North America. Okay, and this is arguing that a comet or an asteroid exploded above almost 13,000 years ago, trying to be temperatures to plunge. Okay, let's see what I get that idea. I don't think the climbing also that not all will be convinced. So scientists argued separately will explain each of these. Change in ocean circulation is generally thought to have brought about the onset. So this is a difference to the impact hypothesis. The new evidence comes in the form of certain features of the life. These are certain features that contain debris formed by an extraterrestrial impact. These include gas and carbon, iridium were too high to variation in conditions rock. The black layers of carbonized material which had remains of wildfires swept across it. Okay. Which choice provides the best support? The impact hypothesis is not the only possible explanation for the sudden change in their climate. 678. This is the impact hypothesis. No. A change in ocean circulation. So, okay, now they're talking about ocean circulation. That is not impact hypothesis, so that's correct. 23 to 26. No evidence coming in the form of geo. This is the impact hypothesis again. How they found the evidence, and this is the impact hypothesis again. Based on passage 1, which hypothetical discovery would provide the most support for the impact hypothesis? Well, most support for the impact. Well, these include circles of gas and the amounts of the element iridium said to be too high to have originated on Earth. Additionally, the rocks contain black layers, which the team says are the remains of the wildfires that swept across. Let's see. You want high levels of it? No, you don't want high levels of iridium, because then that wouldn't. Certain features say the teams. Yeah, because this is not saying extraterrestrial. this is saying extraterrestrial. You don't. So you would glass and carbon appear at multiple no. Analysis of accuracy that global temperature started declining approximately 13 years. No, but that's not them. The impact hypothesis was mostly this stuff. High levels of osmium, which is rare on Earth, relatively common in asteroids. Yes, because if it was common in asteroids, it could have been what an element like iridium that could have been a factor, because this was a factor of the impact hypothesis. This makes sense. According to Basson, the team said the black carbonized material is caused by which phenomenon? Well, let's see. The black the remains of wildfires. So, wildfires. Rapidly spreading fires. As used in line 42, sharply most nearly means what? Okay, that's the next passage. Let's read the next passage. Components of the Younger Dryas. The Younger Dryas was just this was the Younger Dryas that I mentioned. This. Iridium, rare on Earth, but abundant in meteorites. Diamonds, called nano, and magnetic particles in deposits at sites. Wait, 12,800 years ago. That is a difference than 13,000, so time could be important here. These claims were sharply contested. However, who either did not detect it had other causes than a cosmic impact. Nanodiamonds, common in ordinary geological foundation. Maybe this is important. Let's just start that. Now comes what some researchers consider the strongest attack on the dry impact. Okay, strongest attack. This is important for sure. You led my 29 different sites of America's impact aggregates have reported evidence for a cosmic collision. Sites in which space somewhere mammals about 13,000 years ago have been found to theories on the quality and accuracy of dating. So only 3 of the 29 actually fall within. Okay, this is important. So the time didn't match, because right here 12,800, 13,000, they didn't match. So about 12,800, yes, the rest were probably Suppose the Younger Dryas impact fails on both theoretical and empirical grounds. In a way that is simple explanations for complex problems. The rest, no one in Hollywood makes movies about more complex, nuanced explanations. But impact proponents appear unmoved by the new study. We still stand fully behind the impact base. Nuclear chemistry. Radiocarbon dating is a perilous because adding to the presence some of the magnetic share deposits are more reliable than extra. Okay. As used in line 42, sharply, let's see, sharply. These claims were heavily, strongly, let's see, suddenly no, promptly no, strongly yes. Let's rewrite. Based on past numerology, the team relied on what evidence at the time. A reevaluation of the dates, yes. It was a time. Okay, which choice provides the best evidence? Oh, it was right here. the time. It was right here. The time frame. So 60. What is that? 61, 64 to 69. Something in that range. 62. Okay, that's good enough. The phrase more nuanced. Well, nuance in that context was complex. Okay, contrasts. Most likely with which word? Simple. This is just to trick you. Everything. The passage 2 represents a critique. Yes, they were arguing. They had different explanations and hypotheses. The authors of both the impact hypothesis is what? Unsupported? No, because the second one did have reliable, interesting, but difficult to... No, because the second one did evaluate. More appealing to the public. Well, okay, back to this one. Maybe. More appealing to the public? No. Controversial. I think this is the best. It was controversial. This one, I wouldn't say... They both characterized as interesting. I don't remember both. I just think D is better. Controversial. They mentioned that a lot. What can most reasonably be inferred about the class? Mission last paragraph of passage 1. So if his findings were accurate, they could have been formed at other time other than the beginning. Yes. Where was this mentioned? It was like the rest were probably either earlier or later by hundreds, and in one case thousands of years. So it could have happened years after or earlier. That's how. And we are finished with the April 2019 SAT reading section for the past 5 passages only. The next will be the writing and language exam.